Should we just do a little tune in first?
Tune in.
Right? Before we just obviously unroll the questions, I just think let's be us for a moment and just going to connect in. So thank you, Spirit. Thank you so much for bringing Amanda and I together today. Honestly, this woman is an absolute goddess. She is so intuitive. She's so talented. And I'm so happy to be of service for her today. So please allow the questions to flow. Please, whatever needs to be heard, seen, explored, interviewed, presented, spoken about, please allow that to flow and channel through to us. Please give us the gift of communication, which is exactly what her work is all about. It's about the voice, it's about breath, it's about that breath to sound connection. So please allow us to explore this today, and please allow this to reach whoever and whatever it is meant to. And so it is. Thank you so much.
So
do you want to speak anything of that, or are you good?
No, I'm good. Ditto. That's beautiful.
Hello and welcome. My name is Rachael Ward. I'm a singer, actor, dancer, and coach. And alongside my work in musical theatre, film, and TV, I've spent many years exploring well-being, movement, and personal development. Amanda is not only an incredible voice teacher, but more importantly, a beautiful soul. I have been fortunate to be a student of her work, and over the years, I've become increasingly drawn to the connection between voice, intuition, creativity, and healing. Amanda and I share a deep interest in authentic expression and in supporting people to reconnect with themselves. So today we'll be exploring the relationship between breath, voice, healing, and intuition, and learning more about Amanda's work through breath to sound. So Amanda, thank you so much for joining me. For those who may not know you, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to create Breath to Sound?
Gosh, there's an hour in there.
Yeah, go for it.
My name's Amanda Colliver. Been around for a while now. It's hard to know where to start, really. But I'm known as a performer, opera singer. My career was in opera, and a singing teacher. So it's been quite diverse, as in I've lived in Singapore. I've worked side by side with my performing career. It all kind of molds into one. And on the side, I was always doing new age rabbit holes. I was always down a rabbit hole, looking at some kind of alternative meaning, I suppose. So where all of those thoughts and feelings and things that I've done have come from have been just a multitude of experiences and upbringings, and some of it's just simply me. I think the square peg me that doesn't quite know where I get those motivations or impetus from, but it's hard to separate it now because it's all become such an integrated, many facets for me.
But everything is all connected, isn't it? This is what I think, we're learning. And exactly, these modalities plus singing, and sure, breath and sound can be put into different categories when you're being a singer or a singing teacher. But at the end of the day, it's actually the same thing, which is beautiful, right?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. It's magical. I find it very, and when I use the word spiritual today, I call spiritual the unseen now, other, unseen, intuition, the things that people talk about with magical kind of, wow, I thought this and it happened. It's that area. And so that's always been part of my holistic work and teaching. Now I've branched out into something where I guess I feel more confident to bring it into the conversation, which it's not that I haven't been confident about admitting that I'm into all of that kind of thing, but I think it's much more acceptable and accepted now. And many people are asking questions. Oh, what's a chakra? Or, oh, so why do you use the word energy? Or so I think that what's crept up on me is that suddenly in this 21st century, it's much more in the conversation. So I think that's been part of the impetus to even do this. Yeah.
I was just about to say that people are ready now. You know, you were ready, I was ready a long time ago, but if people aren't willing to listen, and if the frequency isn't met, right, it's not going to translate, it's not going to come through. So this is the perfect time, because yes, we have stepped into that level of frequency and communication. So exciting. So what first drew you to singing and performance?
All I know is that before I could talk, I would hum myself to sleep. And very interesting with the breathwork that I'm studying and chanting and things like that, that humming actually puts one into their parasympathetic body, which is the rest and relaxation or recuperation state. So the fact that I was doing that, I think firstly I was from quite a musical family, as in music was always there, and my parents loved music, and it was just my grandparents. They weren't professional singers, but were in choirs and always just played music in the house. And we had instruments and were encouraged to do that kind of thing. But I would, was I a little insomniac child? I don't know. There was, all I know is that I would wake up with a big bird's nest on the back of my head. And I would have been rolling my head and humming all night. So I guess it's better than rocking. I would have ended up in a psych ward then, but this was quite acceptable. So that was the surrounding in my upbringing. Music was always part of my life. I never really knew what I wanted to be, other than I loved outdoors. I loved music. I loved art. I loved dance. I loved those grounded things. And I think that it was kind of inevitable, but you know, I learned piano, and I don't know, there was nothing like, oh, shut up, your voice is horrible, or so it was all encouraged. So that's pretty much.
And I mean, the fact that you literally hummed yourself to sleep, or whilst that's you're healing your body, you know, through, you know, call it a label of chanting or humming, whatever, but you literally just, that's what came out naturally as an innocent child. So it was in your being. Like, that's what drew you, your being, right? It wasn't any, I mean, sure, you had the support of, you know, a musical family, but I mean, you're born to do this. That's what that screams to me, which is
It's definitely
incredible.
in my DNA. Yeah, it's and my affinity with sound. I'm sure there are masters in the world that, you know, talk about frequency and all that kind of thing, but there's something mystical about what I understand when I hear sound coming out of somebody's body and how it's coming out. And that piqued my interest in the correlation of emotions, or the effect of emotions on sound. And probably being I was such a avid sort of person who would practice all the time. And I really wanted to be a singer. And so I got into the College of the Arts, and gave myself a few years to get into the opera companies, and then a few years to get into solo work and whatnot. But the fact that I was doing such high art, and it was so meticulous and so particular, And I was the kind of person that was happy to work on one bar of music, where I'd be with a particular coach, from America or whatever, who's making me go up the same bar. And I'm fascinated with tiny nuance and tiny detail. So having been a performer gives me the psychology of being a performer and how we think, how we fear, how much investment we put into it, how much of our identity is in it. So
It's huge. And it's not just being an incredible technician as a performer, is it? It's the business side of it. It's the personality side of it. It's the being. It's such a holistic business, such a holistic practice, such a holistic thing about actually being that. And so I think the fact that you have had that performance on stage as well, being a teacher, that's what makes you whole, right? That's what makes you be able to give these things, because they come from a place of actual experience and knowledge. I think that for me, it's a very big thing, so I love that. So at what point did you realize that voice work was as much about technique as it is about all this that you're talking about? What point in your career did you really realize?
And that's an interesting question too, because things are cumulative, and hindsight, looking back on things and saying, I would say the difference is I wasn't consciously aware the way that I am now, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, how things are impacting, what I'm integrating. So I would say having an interest in holistic things always, since I was a teenager, has motivated me to look at things those ways, but probably intuit them rather than consciously be able to talk about them in the way that I do now. But probably one of my awakenings was probably one of the most painful times of my life, because I suffered very much from performance anxiety. And this is part of the reason that I'm doing this work, is because performance anxiety is not actually about the thing you're doing. It's actually about being triggered because it reminds you of something unresolved in yourself. So my self-esteem, my confidence, wasn't my confidence in my singing. It was my confidence in delivering to an audience, that maybe I wouldn't be good enough, or maybe I shouldn't be there, or so it would trigger, and I would go through nights and nights of no sleep. And strangely, my voice would continue to work, which was exhausting. But it was a phenomenon where I thought, gosh, this voice is from such a, it's me, but it's not me. I mean,
It's like an out of body experience, right?
well,
Because
yeah, adrenaline and desire
yeah,
to do it. And the fact that I wasn't sick, I was just exhausted, but I don't know, some kind of determination or adrenaline or tenacity, or I can't let the team down, made me. But I was at the height of my career as a soloist with Opera Australia, and I walked away from it because of it. And why? Because I had to walk my talk, because I was teaching people, and it didn't make sense to be in so much pain and to love this thing and to hate it. It didn't make sense. I needed to walk away to work it out and to do, some serious personal work. So,
and that takes a lot of courage to say that and to actually action it. 'Cause honestly, I've been in very similar situations. As you know, I'm a performer, and it's quite amazing when you're trained from so young, you nearly develop into a robot. That's probably why your voice just kept going, because you have the technique there. Everything just keeps going, but your being is just kind of stunted. Your soul isn't matching what you're doing, because you've trained so hard. It's working, but are you really feeling, embracing what you're doing? No. And I have gotten to that point too. I've gone show to show to show to show to show, and I've gone, who am I? Right? I lost Rachel, at one point. And so I had to go and reconnect, with who I was too. And that does build what you're saying, all the anxiety, all the pressure, everything, it builds on top of that level. And so it's just a matter of sitting back in that and going, whoa, you know, and connecting, reconnecting to yourself, which is, I think, why, you know, the whole breath to sound thing, right? It's all come back to why we do the thing we do. It's not about the product or the end result, is it? It's how we get there. It's the journey.
It is, yeah, and that sounds like a cliche, and it is, but you will find out as you get older, which will take you a long time to catch up to me, but the priorities change, that cliche starts to make sense, which is learning to be in a moment, because certain things are no longer an option. So yes, that thing of being in a moment or valuing the moment, or it's been an amazing awakening for me in the past, maybe I'd say 20 years, but maybe the last 5, it's just a fine honing of an understanding. And, you know, walking away from, I knew enough to know that walking away from performing was not walking away from music. And it was very interesting that when you leave a space, because it was all consuming, my operatic career was all consuming. But before that, I'd been in a band and, you know, and a songwriter and stuff like that. And when I stopped my career and left my agent and just went, I'm leaving all of this, I just started to write prolifically. I started to other music just started to come through, and I started to create in a different way. So instead of creating something that was given to me to embody, basically I started writing my own things and finding out who I really was. So my skill set was in opera, but my heart was actually in writing.
I love that. I think that's the crux of it, and that is so important, because when you are in those defined careers, an opera singer, a classical ballet dancing, a musical theatre performer, they have very set targets. They have very set goals that everyone knows of, and you're all reaching them. And it's something I talk about actually a lot. Is that really what you want? Or is that what you've been told that you want? And when you break that mold and actually go, what's my true north? That's when actually your creativity opens up, your authentic expression, right? But it is really hard to take that step out of the norm, right? You and I are a little bit different, right? Just naturally. And it's scary to be that, but it's also incredible. But yeah, for you being that role model to do that, I think is incredible. I really do.
Well, as you know, we both feel we have, I believe everyone has a purpose. And I don't believe I could be doing this work if I hadn't been a performer, because I wouldn't understand a lot of the psychology that is behind simply fear. It's not even performing necessarily, but if I do something like high art, which is opera, there is nothing other than crossing over into something else, peeling back from that I would need to know. So honestly, it's like you know, like with ballet or whatever, it's the rigors of that. There is nothing harder. There is nothing more demanding. There is nothing more high art than that. And so everything after that, relaxing from that, well, that's a skill in itself.
But, oh my gosh, breaking the mold of that, allowing yourself to breathe, I think is a big one, because I think when you're under that much stress and pressure, it's pretty tough just to feel pretty relaxed, isn't it? And ironically, that's the thing you need to do to make the most relaxed sound. And you know, but it's like, for me, it feels like a swan, you know, underneath the water, like you're just, but like, right? It's that's how I see it anyway. That's a lot of myself. I'm like, I'm so zen on the outside, but you're working overtime in overdrive. So yeah. But I'm interested to, you said that you had a spiritual awakening. I've definitely had, you know, them along my journey. Was there a particular experience that led you to create breath to sound? Like, I understand it's definitely been your, life's work and everything, but was there a particular moment you'd like to talk about or something like that?
Yeah, and firstly, I'd like to say what the breath to sound thing is, because breathing can be compromised and it still keeps you alive. There's not a lot of importance put on it or the state of the actual air. But through all my teaching, basically air is converted into sound and people blame the voice, they blame the sound. And I'm saying, well, actually, the state of being and the way you breathe in and the way you push or force or apply that air actually creates the sound you get. So we tend to look at the crash side, which is, oh, I cracked, or oh, I didn't reach that note or whatever. And I'm saying, well, actually, the breath is the cause. It is the symptom of the sound you get. And so bringing people's awareness, all people's awareness into what happens before sound is created, which basically has brought me to this. However, the situation, a client of mine, I hadn't taught him for very long, but he is a physio and does breath work. And he just said, oh, I love the way that you teach, and it's very kind of holistic. I think you should bring breath work, join breath work with voice work. And I I thought that was really interesting. And I thought that maybe another expert would do the breath work. and then I call them guides because they're voices that come in that tell me to give up my career, to go to Singapore, to do this, to do that. And the voice is different to my crazy voice. And it basically instructed me to go and learn breath work and sound therapy, and to start bringing in these modalities that actually I'd been doing for years and years and years, but would always go to some other expert to do them. So part of me is very, it's not humble. It's basically, I really respect people that I can't do impart something when I don't know what I'm doing. So educating myself about that. And then I realized that I knew a lot, but I hadn't articulated it. I hadn't put it into words. I hadn't really learnt the science of it. So that was the situation. And it was, as in all of my life, my changes in life have all been brought on by a conversation or a relationship or something with somebody else. Even teaching was that. I never set out to teach. So that was
guided, divinely guided.
divinely guided. And I was aware this time, and I just thought, wow, this is I'm so grateful for that. And it was almost like someone bringing the baby, dropping it on the doorstep and saying, bring it up yourself. And so the rest is becoming history, but I've just started branching out into this, and it feels like the rest of my life. It was not a missing piece, but I knew there was something else. I didn't know that it was this. So,
well, everything stems from the root cause. I think we spend a lot of our lives trying to band-aid, everything that's happening. But at the end of the day, you got to strip it all back and go to the root cause. And that's what the breath is to the sound, right? So I think it's fantastic, like speaking on behalf of me at least. Oh, if I would have done this at the beginning of my career, right?
Me too.
Otherwise, just the layers of bracing, of anxiety, of all that which cap the breath, right? And then don't allow you to fulfill, the task at hand. Gosh, I would have just started with the breath, started from the root cause of the trauma, the issue. We've all got that. And then actually then created that authentic sound. My word. We can do it now, but this is what's so exciting about you doing this now, I think. You know, you
Yeah,
could
it's
really.
really, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, it's because it's multi-layered. And I think that I always laugh at the cliche, just be yourself, because
Yeah.
if I knew who that was, I would be. But
Yeah.
we are very attached to the masks and to the stories and whatnot, which people will say, what do you mean mask? I'm not masking. And I'm just saying we adopt things for societal reasons or for cultural reasons or family reasons or whatever, and they become layers. And so we then, if we delve deeper, we start to find the cause of why the anxiety is there in the first place. And it's deep. There has to be such a desire to work it out. And I just didn't want to die stupid. I wanted to.
You are far from stupid. I'm going to
to
put that straight out there. My word.
So yes, I have been very motivated by something deep within that was not a learned thing. It was really just a motivated thing. So I'm beginning to see that it was part of my purpose. And so I really had to go through and address those things within myself, which means I don't learn it from a book. I learn it from experience. And then everyone I work with is the same as me. A lot of us are all just more well-versed or leaders in certain areas, but we're all still working on the same thing.
Oh, we're all learning every single day. Every single day. I think it's just a matter of if you're willing to learn or not. That's what I think, like I'm certainly every day at school, right? But it's just then how you apply that experience and that knowledge into your life and then how you serve it to others. That's how I think of it. So yeah, I think all learning. But of course, as you live and you grow, you're going to gain that wisdom and be able to impart it, which is what you're doing now, which is amazing. So you've spoken a bit about breath to sound. What does that phrase specifically mean to you? Why did you choose it for the course, the work that you're doing?
The air, the prana, the life force, that is literally us, comes through the body and becomes communication. And so breath to sound, sound is what air becomes, but then the sound becomes the voice, and the voice is me. So I can, breath to sound, I could have done breath to sound to voice, but I suppose that's going to become quite an obvious thing. So sound carries my essence. And then it becomes me in the communicative world. And I think that's my passion, is how things stop at sound. So understanding that the state of the breath is going to become the sound that is going to become your expression is vital. Yeah. So,
and on that, why do you think so many people struggle to express themselves authentically and through that communication, through that breath sound communication? Why do you think that is?
I think it's conditioning, full stop. And in my work, I see people conditioned differently, and they all sing differently. You know, whether they're in European extended families where they're all having a big yell at each other, there is more freedom. Whether they've been islanders and they have a tribal kind of expression. The Western culture, I mean, in America, they busk and they're verbose, and this is a generalization, but they're very free with expressing their voices. And in Australia, I think we're very judgmental and very non-expressive with our voices, because it's a little bit very compartmentalized. If you're not training as a singer, then you don't sing. Or if you sound off, then no, that's too disturbing, so just don't. So we're extremely aware of external judgment, and I believe Australia is extremely judgmental. I can say it because I am Australian. I've been to other countries and lived there and watched their culture, their cultural bent. So I often ask people in a lesson how good they think they are. Or, well, that's an interesting one, is I've never seen people stammer more than when I ask them how good they think they are, because they don't want
Tall
to
poppy
sound,
syndrome over here, isn't it as well?
yeah,
Right?
they don't want to sound vain. But I don't believe you can go anywhere if you don't know where you are. You can't build on something if you don't know where you are. If you're nowhere, I'm a beginner, or okay, good, let's go to intermediate. Or, but that's a beautiful thing, because once people validate how good they already are, then they can build on it, and they immediately start to work with what they have, because they've now validated what they have. And yeah, it's really this thing of denouncing my greatness. I love people's greatness. It doesn't
I
threaten
love that
me.
you celebrate that. My gosh, and their
Yeah.
worth. Gosh, such a big
So
one.
that's a huge one, and it hurts my heart, actually, seeing people hiding their light, actually. So
I've noticed that working in the UK as well, similar parallels, with just going, oh no, I'm the, not shining in their light and stepping into their presence and owning their worth. So it's very interesting. I hadn't really, hadn't been at the forefront of my mind culturally, things like that. So interesting. I'd love to, because I understand breath and voice, they're connected now, but what about emotion? Can we tap into that a little bit more? Like how does that affect things?
well, emotion comes before the breath.
Even deeper.
Even deeper, which is my eyes pop open and I go, oh, did you hear about? So
Yeah.
my breath is loaded with my desire to communicate. And so the state of my emotions, and we talk about body, mind, spirit as, the Trinity, but there's an emotional body, and that is sadly depressed and pushed down, and people trying to transcend feelings, but feelings hold it all. That's where all the truth lies. And I'm not saying that you just, bombard everyone with your feelings, but the thing is to be validated as that feeling is absolutely fine. What you do with the feeling is a whole other thing. But that feeling, to actually feel the things that I feel and not feel that I have to hide them or transcend them or be brave, or this is all to do with the state of the air. Whatever I'm wrestling with my persona is affecting the air, which is affecting the way that I communicate. So it's deep. It's very deep.
And thoughts are coming to me as well, right? Thoughts, feelings, emotion, that's all before any of this has happened.
Yeah.
Right? So if we don't address those things, the product of that, right?
That's right. Go and learn how to breathe in and hold for 4, and then let go for 4 and hold for 4 and whatever. But nothing's changing. No, because there's more to it than that. Or you might get very good at holding your breath and regulating air, but is it changing your life?
And I think this ties in beautifully. Like, obviously, you and I are both singers. And so this is really important for us because we need to make sound for our living. But can you talk about how relevant this is for people who aren't singers?
Well, a lot of my teaching has been for public speakers as well, or people teaching. When I was in Singapore, I was teaching a lot of Chinese, and the Chinese have a very relaxed upper face. So they don't, you actually almost feel that they're passive aggressive, and they're not. They're just basically quite, what's the word? Toned down. You don't, not like Australians, whoa, hey, oh, guess what happened? This animation is not culturally their thing. And so they would be teaching and saying, I feel boring, or I'm losing my voice. And why? Because I'm actually pressurizing from a non-animated place.
Mm.
So my voice is just remind me of the question again, because I think I've gone on a tiny tangent.
No, that's totally fine. We're just talking about the relevance for people who aren't singers.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So these people aren't singers, but basically they're publicly speaking, or they're educating.
Mm.
So they don't understand that the dynamic range that we singers use, dynamic range meaning from low frequencies to high frequencies, for anyone that's asking what that word is. If I sit on a intimate conversational level and I try to project from this place, I will either get vocal fatigue, I will, as they call themselves, boring, I will sound monotonal. Yeah, I won't have charisma. I don't attract, or I basically fatigue, right? So with public speakers, I always use the dynamic range that singers use. So you don't have, for singers, they really need to look at breathing. Actors, on the other hand, are used to exploring that, and they're used to exploring emotions and expression. So they actually are easier to teach voice to, which is interesting. So the trained singer actually is not as well versed in the rest of it as others are. So yeah, so non-singers, it's also speaking your truth. It's learning to create boundaries. It's just those things of feeling confident about having a conversation. But the dynamic range, because it brings up so much for people to just go, hey, or yell, or do something like that. That's why it's essential that they get into what singers would have to do, which is higher frequencies.
And gaining that resonance, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So what are the common blocks that you see in people preventing this resonance, this sound, this expression, this communication, this breath to sound in
so
singers or non-singers, right?
So we have two primary emotions, and I believe all emotions come from those two. So one is fear and one is love. All the fearful emotions are, oh, but what if I couldn't? And the inner dialogue, that's basically the inner critic actually, who's critiquing everything that I do. So if I'm used to caring about what someone else thinks, which we all do, none of us doesn't. But if I can transcend those emotions over into joy and passion and fun and compassion and generosity, and so there's a lot to it, because what stops me is fear, and yet the substructure or sub-language of fear are all my internal dialogues about all the but this, but that, but I could, but. So what love tends to do, or joy tends to do, is change the word from but to so how am I going to do that? Or so why am I like that? So how long will that just bring in a whole bunch of other questions. So it's very hard to avoid going into what one calls spiritual work, spiritual being other, being unseen, psychological work, because it impacts on my voice.
Oh, you're ringing so many bells. Yeah, absolutely. Addressing all those. So talking on spirituality, maybe moving into more intuition, what does that role play in the voice? What does intuition play in the voice?
Yeah, I love your questions. There are times people that I've worked with, or even haven't had many lessons, they know something isn't right and they just stop, right?
Mm.
So sometimes I say, just work it out. Just work it out. And they tune into something, which I think is the intuitive body, and they try again and they go, I don't know how I did that.
Yeah.
And that's because it's not a conscious thing, it's an intuitive thing. And the body carries all this information, carries all this knowledge and awareness, which doesn't have the critic in it. So some people call it the higher self, the conscious mind, and the subconscious. So there are these levels going on, and all psychiatry and stuff, it's working with all of that. So when I do say just work it out, they tune into something other than what they just did. And I haven't really seen anyone, when I've said that to them, do something worse.
Look, I am a complete believer in this. Like, label it, yeah, whatever you want to call it, the intuitive self, the higher self, but it's that voice that isn't what you spoke about in the previous question, the blocks, the negative self-talk. It's not that. That's the critic.
No.
Like, and we all have that, as you just said. We're human, right? We're humans living on this earth plane, and it can be really tough when that little angry person's sitting on your shoulder. But yes, tuning into that self of yours, that higher self, that voice that just speaks your truth, the best for yourself, your highest good, that has the answers. That's the intuition, right? And it is quite remarkable, isn't it? We've all had experiences, I feel, we go, don't actually know what I did, but it just happened. It felt lighter. It was right. It all just, so it is really tuning into that. So yeah, but it's a great explanation to differentiate what those two things are. So yeah.
Yeah, and the intuitive voice, people have it, but they don't give it a chance to prove itself. And so if you don't take, all these cliches like a leap of faith. What is a leap of faith? It's basically going with something where I don't know. I don't know. And so if you put that into practice and you just follow that, which I did when I gave up my career, which I did when I went to Singapore, which I did, doesn't mean the situation is easy.
No.
It's a voice. It's a voice that is not common. And I know
it doesn't come from the rational mind. It doesn't come from usually the protective parent or, or society. It doesn't come from that at all, does it? It comes from this inner voice that is telling you, and a gut feeling, a lot of people call it too, that is telling you to go in a direction, but it can be hard to follow, very hard.
Well, we're trained not to.
Yeah.
And that's why we go and do all this new age work, is so somebody says you must. And then society basically says, well, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or what if, but that's not going to make you any money, you're going to be on the street, or so I have all these reasons given not to. But now in this day and age, people are turning towards that more. Why? Because things aren't working. If they're not working, then I can't turn to another person because they're just as dysfunctional as I am, or a little bit less, or they don't have those kinds of answers. So I've trusted mine over the years, and I would never go against it again. Occasionally I hang about a little bit too long in situations where I shouldn't, but I already knew.
Even when we ask people for guidance, or people are telling us, is that coming from a loving place or a fear place? What you were speaking about before. Like, what is actually pure, even if it is coming from externally, right?
Exactly.
So anyways.
Because the reason for doing breath to sound is it's all very well to go and do a retreat and to go to a seminar or a weekend. We've all done that, and we've walked out and we've felt amazing, and it's lasted about a day.
Yeah.
But we need to know how to practically apply it to our lives. That doesn't happen overnight, but what I'm also passionate about imparting is how to bring it into not woo-woo, not, oh, I'll just sit on a rock and I'll meditate all day. It's how do I apply some of this into changing my life? And so, as you say, if I could, about to, gossip about someone, and maybe I could ask myself whether it's coming from love or fear. I don't know, just something that could be a tool to make me self-reflect.
And I think that's really important, because some of this stuff can come across as woo-woo or, whatever. But I think people hearing this will really go, great, if I can leave, breath to sound with practical tools that actually I can incorporate into my life, because we don't live meditating on a rock, do we? That's not life. That's a romanticized view. That's a lens. Maybe some people do, and fantastic. But, for the majority of us, we are working, we're living, we're living on the earth plane, where we can encounter some serious negative stuff, so if we can have practices and tools that are really practical and really fit into those lifestyles, that can make us better humans, better singers, better speakers, better communicators, better breathers, I think that's something that will really resonate with people. So love it. Feel free to share any of that if you want to, but if not, we'll move on.
No, it's very just mesmerized watching.
Well, you can see you talk about cultures, I've got Italian coming out of me, and I've got Australian, all these things. Yeah. Very performer-based.
One day we'll switch, I'll be asking the questions.
Oh, I love it. I love this relationship. I just love it. But that's energy exchange, isn't it? And that's communication, right? That's breath to sound. So I love that.
Breath to sound. I think I've written it on a logo, on a flyer, equals communication. And yes. Communication, everyone wants to be seen, but I can't tell you how many people, when you look at them, they don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
That's the dichotomy, which is I want to be myself and I want to express myself, but don't put me on the spot, so I have to do it. So how do I gain the tools for my own confidence? Well, that's huge. And I don't know about you, but generally we go, oh, how are you? And you go, oh, I'm fine. And they go, great, now I'm off. Instead of holding space for somebody and saying, so what did you do, on the weekend? Or, oh, you look a little bit down. Is everything okay? Or the way you said, oh, yeah, was a bit loaded. So we don't tend to have the time. So this is all about becoming aware of all of that.
I say people, if they ask me, if they go, if I'm not good in that moment, go, oh, I'm not great today. And it just completely throws them sideways, because they're like, whoa, my programming has told me that you just say, how are you? Fine, thanks, good, thanks, and you move on. There is not meant to be, this is just a nicety here. It's right? Yeah, right. It's like, oh gosh, I have to put energy into this. Because if someone asks me a question, I take it as, oh, they're interested, but I'm so aware, right, that we're programmed. But I do tend to try my hardest to speak my truth and be authentic, because we all hide behind masks, which we've established. I mean, gosh, we live in this world, but yeah, actually communicating with truth, with authenticity, takes a lot of courage, because as you just said before, like, do people actually want to be seen and heard? If they're hiding behind a mask and they're not willing to unveil that, are they? It's a huge, huge thing, I think. So
I think if they understand their own greatness and are allowed to see it, then they will. So I don't think masks are ever adopted by babies. They're not adopted by anyone without a need to protect. And we can say, but you don't need to protect yourself. And I'm saying, well, they obviously felt that they did. And that's why they have it. We don't have these barriers and things for no reason. It's just my psyche said, I can't survive without it. So I need this to help me get through something. So it's such an interesting thing. And as I often watch people unfold where I can tell they've been bullied, but I don't recognize that in them. I mean, I can see it, and they might have come from a psychiatric situation or whatever, but I think that's part of it, is when that is part of their story, but it's not who they are. And when you start to work with them, not even talking about it, but just as them, it's amazing how you start to see them.
Yeah, well, we're born as pure souls. It's only life that, imprints those things on us and creates those shields. And absolutely, sometimes you need to hold those shields up and those certain boundaries to certain people, places, or things because they don't serve you. And that can really compromise communication. So, yeah, it's doing that safely as well, isn't it? I think, and knowing those boundaries. So,
yeah, I think I see the boundaries as a little different to masks.
yes, no, they're
And
totally.
I think that people that are more well-versed in being themselves are able to create strong boundaries, because it's that, I think, comes from a place of love. I think that we don't even know we have them. I didn't even know that I suffered from anxiety, because when I was growing up, there was no counseling. There wasn't, oh, I'm having a mental health day. There was psychiatry, but that was usually for crazy people. But I realized and how well I actually managed, but my demeanor is far more extrovert, but my interior was so insecure and traumatized by certain things that this demeanor couldn't really fully integrate with the person. So it was a little bit of a contradiction to people that saw me as quite strong and powerful and whatever, and me just not being that. So,
I think a lot of us could relate to that. I think it's, yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people could see me as quite extroverted, but I'm absolutely an introvert, 100% on the inside. So I can relate. And a lot of us could. So you're speaking to a lot. I'd really love to deep dive into emotional experiences that can become held in the body or the breath, which then prevent the communication. Do you believe this to be true?
I do. And when I wrote my book, Can Anybody Sing? I did some research on the 3 tiers, like the super conscious, the conscious mind, and the subconscious. And the subconscious is so interesting in the way that everyone goes through shock and trauma, but sometimes people think a car accident is trauma. Well, actually, sometimes cracking on stage or forgetting my words on stage and coming off stage and no one says anything, that is trauma and shock in itself. Or especially when people say nothing.
Yeah.
And so what happens with the psyche is that it feels some of it, a small portion of it, and it pushes the rest of it that it cannot process into the subconscious. Now, we've heard of baggage. The baggage actually is, and then I think, oh, well, I'll deal with that later. Maybe that's just what my psyche thinks. And then I go through the next shock or the next rejection or the next thing, and I process a little bit of it and I push the next bit down. So I have loads and loads and loads of unresolved shock. And that can be simply, no one took me aside and said, I know how you feel.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about that. And now moving on. It's just that thing of stoic, deal with it, suck it up. This is what professional means. And therefore the emotions are actually tied down. So that's really instigating everything else, is the subconscious unresolved trauma. It always comes from childhood. Always. I believe it always comes from there, because the inner child is constantly running amok with the adolescent or with the adult. And so we're dealing with things as adults that really we didn't gather when we were adults. It just triggers something that I gathered when I was a kid. So, and important that people realize that when you're talking about upbringing or things like this is not picking out and blaming parents, because parents are parented and parents are parented.
Yeah.
So it's really all part of culture and society and conditioning and all of that. So we pass on what we know, and we don't
We do the best we can with the knowledge we have.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And some don't. Do their best or whatever, but that's all everyone else's story. But however, I get to this stage and I can't ask for it to be reversed. So all I can do is go to the source of it or begin to understand the source of it. So it was interesting for me in my career that I was on fire in rehearsals and creative and myself. It was performing. It was when it came down to the wire. It was the actual performances. So when the audience would come in, the rest of the firing squad arrived.
Sorry, I'm just having I'm the opposite. Like I've had the opposite experience. So this is really interesting. So I found, and I'm much better now, but when I originally started, maybe back 10 years ago performing or something, the rehearsal room for me was when I had to be my most vulnerable and when I didn't know what I was doing, because I'm naturally a perfectionist, A-type personality. And so I went in there imperfect because I didn't know what I was doing yet. And so I was battling with that. But the second I got on stage and I perfected it and I was in a performative space on it, and people were like, whoa, right? And so I nearly had to be cast. People had to come and either see me work or see my CV, because I was just a different human upon the stage. So I find that really interesting. I think that tells me a lot about our individual trauma or, things like that, because literally it's the opposite. I felt, free on the stage and you felt free in the creative space. So I find that really remarkable. And I bet people listening to this are going to be like, oh yeah, I relate to but they're both the same thing. They're both an insecurity, right, that we have to develop and overcome. I just found that really quite crazy, actually. Wow, that's amazing. And overcoming all those experiences and those blocks, which prevent us.
I call it knowing it. Know your own madness. Just know your own madness. And to own it is to be able to work with it. And so if you have that particular, look, I didn't have any teachers that basically saw that I would come in completely, you were talking about perfectionism, but into my lessons, always warmed up, always knowing what I was doing, so that I had the upper hand. Rehearsals were different in the way that I was exploring something and I'd already gotten the job and la. But if one had been maybe very intuitive with me and said, I want you to get out of bed, not hum, not lip trill, not anything. I want you to come in and we're going to learn a song together and we're going to warm up together. I want to see exactly what you're like without your makeup. Then I think that would have been a great source of healing for me, which was you don't have to be all made up and, you can.
I love this because honestly, this is so relatable, because I was on the stage since I was 6 in full eyelashes. And it took me, you talk about makeup, it literally took me, till I was probably about, I'm going to say my mid-20s, to actually not wear makeup. I'm not wearing makeup right now. And do you know how it's this mask, it's just nuts, isn't it? Finally coming at peace with yourself and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and raw and presenting yourself in that light. Isn't that?
Yeah, but look at you. That's ridiculous.
Stop it. I'm in my 30s now.
look at her. Oh my God.
Stop it.
She's perfect.
Yeah, but okay. And thank you. That's really lovely. But isn't that crazy then? I'm in my 30s. Isn't that crazy that my teenage or my 20-year-old in my 20s, I wouldn't accept myself without makeup, because that's not what society, deemed as pretty or whatever. So right? I had to break through that trauma cycle. Isn't that nuts? Isn't that
Well, I'm
nuts?
so glad I'm of this age where I don't have to go through what the younger kids are going
Yeah.
through now. So glad. So now
Yeah.
everything's just a choice. But yeah.
I want to actually touch base. I had a light bulb moment in something you said about when things happen to you and you store the trauma. You deal with whatever you need to, you process whatever you need to, and then you push the rest down. Something came to my attention recently because I'm a massive empath. I'm a very sensitive soul, and I think a lot of artists are. A lot of people that are big communicators have that. And, you know, you were saying about if you crack on stage and no one says something to you, some people are wired, they just laugh it off or they're fine about it. Whereas a lot of us find that absolutely traumatizing to make a mistake, to hurt somebody, to, you know, it's just such a big deal. And I remember certainly growing up, I remember my first job, I was in the States, I was only 18, and I was just affected by a comment, or I did something, you know, I wasn't perfect, right? Something happened, like I cracked on stage or one of those things. It wasn't that, but something like that. And someone just pulled me aside, a cast member who was significantly older than me, who wasn't in their first job, and said, you just got to toughen up, you got to get thicker skin if you want to be in this industry. And I remember I just went, okay. And I just pushed it all down. And from then I just went, okay, this is what I have to do. And I just took the hits, you know, and it served me to an extent because it pushed me through. But at the same time, no, I needed to work through that in order to, you know, on reflection. And so I don't know, to me that just came up. I don't know if you have any words on that, but I have a lot of stored trauma I've had to work through because of all the scaffolding, of all the push down of emotions, you know, because it meant something to me at that moment in time. I don't know if you want to speak on behalf of that, but it's just what came to me.
Yeah, I think it's both. It's true. We do have to, there's a resilience there. I was thinking this morning, you go on stage or you go into an audition room, the piano is louder than where you've been rehearsing.
Yeah.
The venue is either too dead or too boomy. No
Yep.
one cares. No one
No.
cares, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, should anyone care? No. But does anyone really tune into the fact that you've got, or you're a dancer, so you know the floor, or whatever it is? There are all these other things to deal with, and I think we all suck those things up. But in all fairness, you know, so part of my teaching is, you know, you get into another venue and you will begin to use your voice differently because you think it doesn't sound right,
Mm-hmm.
but these are acoustics and these things going on around you.
Mm.
um yeah, but the just remind me of the question. I was going these tangents.
I was no, it's fine. I was just talking about the being maybe a sensitive soul, the trauma impacting. We were on that conversation.
uh yeah, I can't remember. Well, it was basically that oh yes, that the thick skin, and it's both. It's basically both. Um, Understanding that there are things that you have to deal with, and therefore you have every right to feel like that. You have every right to, oh my God, I couldn't even hear myself. But that's what it's going to be. On the
Mm,
other hand, that doesn't mean just suck everything up. Just deal with it
mm,
all. No, you don't have to. You have to feel it, because as
mhm,
you feel it, you can basically process and you
mm,
can move on, because you'll find your reason as to what happened, what I need to do about it. Gee, you keep doing that. Oh, okay, I better go back and practice that particular thing.
mm.
So it's both.
It's both,
I
but
need
it's
to be
processing. I think
stoic.
that's the crux of it. Not just shoving it down, it's processing it so it can be released,
Yeah,
so you can move on. I think
yeah,
there's something in that.
yeah, both. So.
Okay, so how does sound support healing and release? So we're talking about processing. How does this, yeah, how does it help?
Well, I don't know that we think of ourselves as vibration,
We are.
that we are, and all energy is vibrational. And so sound frequency, birds, wind, all of that. This is all what we came from. This is all part of us. And so it cannot not be a healing modality. On that, there are certain shops I walk into that have a certain kind of frequency going, and I can't be in there because my whole viscerally, it's just really detrimental to my energy. But having walked dogs for 26 years and been in nature and having a mother that said, go and listen to the birds, and not being allowed to have background noise other than nature. I just think that
sensitive.
Yeah, very. And also I hear it and I love it. I feel so, kookaburras and birds just trotting away and things. So vibrationally, it's everything. And so music is vibration. And so the kind of music, yes, but why do we, weep and cry and laugh and dance and whatever to music is because I think it's just integral to our we are music, we are vibration. And so the fact that we take that vibration and put it into an organized form that then somebody judges, I'm interested in us being more tribal if we can be. If we could all do the haka. Can you imagine one of those Maori people looking at each other and going, gee, you sound terrible today?
Yes.
They're just doing their thing and expressing energy. And I think that to me is the healing thing, is being able to just express energy and sound and vibration and feeling vibration through your body. So I've just started on, vibration, sound healing things, which are like sound bowls, tuning forks, chimes. I started learning the handpan. But these are less organized things than guitar and piano, but it all has this beautiful etheric sound, which is very relaxing to it. So before now, I just found it all a bit ungrounded, but I think it can be grounded, brought into the grounding area of, if I feel really distressed, I'm going to go and play this particular bowl and it's got this sort of sound and now I feel better.
And once people learn that and tune into that, they'll really start to notice. I've noticed. I'm quite now I need nature around me to function, it feels like, as well. And even people's energy is a frequency, right? So I can even walk into a space and have to walk out, because of it's a frequency, right? Yeah. But in terms of talking about sound, when people, experience the vibrations, the hertz of those sounds, it is really transformative if you let that. And that takes me back all the way back to when you were humming as a baby, you know what I mean? So just full circle, right? Now you're making it with an instrument, but it originated right from all those years back. I'm curious on what you've observed during your workshops. Anything that surprised you? Any transformations from this work? I'd love to hear about some of this stuff, what people could potentially expect. I'd love to hear that.
The thing I often say is it takes a lot longer to build up blockage than it does to let it go.
And that's true.
It's very true, because the natural state is sitting there waiting to be reclaimed, and therefore the layers to become more unnatural have taken a lot longer to build. And I had a situation in Singapore when I was there, and they pushed back the ocean to make the island bigger. And things have been rivers, but they've basically built whole shopping centers on things that were rivers. But what's really interesting is when there's an abundance of rain, it becomes a river again. It just becomes a river again. So you can push it away, you can make it into something, but you can't you can't make it something that it isn't, right? So that's what I see with working with people is, you know, they'll be really scared and make a sound, and then they'll make a bigger sound, and in 5 seconds they've made maybe 10 times the sound that they first made, and they'll be laughing.
Mm.
And so this whole thing that was almost a whisper or very stressful, it just gets, and that's within 5 minutes, you know, maybe seeing others in the same situation. So it's not that I don't know that that's going to happen, but I think it must be like midwives seeing a new baby come out and going, I can't ever get sick of that. Or I knew that baby was going to come out, but I just didn't know I was going to feel that kind of wonder. So people can expect, they can certainly expect an awareness of what's going on for them.
Yeah.
Definitely they will become, you can't walk out not being changed from the perspective of you now have more information, and information is power.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they choose to take it on or not, but they do. Oh, wow, I didn't realize, you know, even the thing of, oh, so my breath is affecting my voice, or, oh, so my voice is held back because someone told me that I was too loud as a kid and I was
Mm-hmm.
annoying. And so now I have this kind of subconscious thing of holding back my voice. So have things surprised me? I think only how quickly people reclaim themselves when they're feeling safe. When they're feeling safe, yeah.
But that's beautiful. I mean, if people can, you know, walk out of something just feeling them, that's huge. I think that's just worth it in itself, really. So that's, yeah,
Such,
for me
yeah,
anyway.
such a reward. I mean, it's why I do it is, yeah, I mean, doing something that gives you a purpose. But I mean, this is my purpose, and I've known it for a while, particularly with just all the teaching that I do. But this extra thing is opening it up to everyone, so that it's not just a singer's thing. But if singers ask me, I would say you must do breath work. You really must. If you're trying to reach things and you're feeling blockage in your body, just understanding how to breathe. Someone else, they may have to educate just some people in their workspace, and they find that that's really difficult to do, and they get very self-conscious and they can't be themselves, or corporate meetings, or just, it's no different, because sound, just because I put a melody on it, is no different to whether I'm speaking or I'm going, oh, wow, or laughing out loud, or it's all musical. It's just not the skill of singing.
And gosh, some languages and accents are really musical and some are really flat. So at the end of the day, what's really the definition and what's really the difference, right?
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. Like, you've really summarized, actually, because I was going to ask, you know, who specifically is it for, and just, you know, people need to have any singing experience or anything, but you've just said that in all that, which is gorgeous. It's open to anyone, and of course you don't need to have any experience, just the fact that, you know, you can communicate, that's what you need.
Yeah, and you need a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
courage and a desire. Actually, desire is the greatest thing. The more I listen to this particular person with breathwork, and he was just talking about waking up to what you want, and actually being prepared to put in the yards to get what you want. And yes, this takes commitment, but you know, you don't have to do it all at once. It's just one awareness. Awareness is everything, because there's a big difference between self-consciousness and self-awareness. And self-awareness is being aware of the fact that I'm scared, aware of the fact that I'm not this, aware of the fact. So people will leave with more self-awareness. Definitely. They won't leave with more self-consciousness.
I love that. None of us need more of that, but just, yeah, as you said, being aware, acknowledging, accepting, and having the willingness and the courage to actually do this work. I love it. But do you, so even after saying all of that, even if people are nervous, what would you say to someone who feels nervous about joining your Breath to Sound?
I'd say, well, firstly, you're never forced to do anything. So there is no, come on, not this thing of, come on, put your big girl pants on, make this, never that. Yeah, I think I would say it's a safe space, and probably my greatest desire is that it would be quite distressing for me to have someone leave distressed. So we can't have that. And that somebody did say something, it was the biggest compliment someone's given to me, was that she said, oh, you don't just deliver the information at people. But I truly feel like the leader, but I don't feel like I'm not one of the people. So there are, we sit on the floor, well, sat on the floor a lot, but I'm part of everything that goes on, but I'm just facilitating. And so that thing of you sit there in the audience and you just take this information and we explore the information. The information is, there can be games, there can be PowerPoint, there can be discussion, there can be actual physically doing something. Meditation is really becoming aware. And so when people think of meditation, they think of, oh God, I've got to empty my mind of everything. It's actually, you'll never empty your mind of everything. I'm here to tell you, you won't, because the mind is never free of thought, but you will become aware of where the thinking is. And so meditation is really, let's just lie down and, have some nice music on and someone saying some calming words, and you get an opportunity to tune into where all your tension is. You get an opportunity to become aware of just how difficult it is to do. And then you can say, oh, it's not for me. Or you can say, oh my God, I'm so tense. I mean, I just couldn't, just couldn't relax. I just couldn't. And that's an awareness in itself.
And there's obviously many different forms of meditation, from mantra-based to guided, all these different things. But a big one is breath. And what are we talking about, right? And breathing out tension. And so, and I was thinking, because obviously you've got these workshops, Breath to Sound, but if people maybe didn't want to be in a group setting, are there more private ways of going about it? Like, because obviously everyone's different. So what are the different options that people can, get?
Yeah, it's become a bit of a smorgasbord now. I do have a menu.
It's what we want. It's what we want.
Appetizers and yes, well, one-on-one. Look, I'm really starting to, I have a studio here, and so I don't, bigger groups. So I'm going to cater to large groups, which is in a bigger space that I have. But large, I see as about 20, 25, so that the max, so groups of 10 to 20, which makes it individual, but I see those as bigger groups. One-on-one, it can be breath work. It can be like the Breath to Sound is really firstly finding out where someone is. So they will have a particular, I'd like to do. So I have several modalities to use. I do have a singing student coming for a breath session next week.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and sometimes people want, I love somatic work, and somatic work is self-touch, self-love, self-pacifying. And that's a meditation in itself, which is not all of us are getting a hug, but how do I
love that.
Are there areas in my body that just feel congested? Is there any way I can send energy into those places? So there's one-on-one for any of those. Is Breath to Sound for singers of any levels, where they specifically want to well, I'm a singer and I want to know how to do this, and I can introduce the breath work to that. I'm also doing a 12-week course, my book, Can Anybody Sing? It's just that in every chapter there is like a slightly different holistic thing. It could be technique, it could be vocal maintenance, it could be breath, it could be performance anxiety. So there's that as well. And if any of you out there have this great idea, what about, just let me know. And
Yeah.
I can cater to anything. But this is it's a new thing. But as I say, I have obviously all the experience, but now I'm bringing in other things. Oh, I forgot sound therapy. I mean, am I a sound healer? No. Am I doing a sound therapy course? Yes. Can I bring in some of those healing modalities, which is really just to help people relax? I just see everything is a tool to bring me back into my rest and relaxation or motivation state. So whatever we use, am I teaching chakra healing? No. Do we mention them? Yes. So I'm really being more discerning about which things I feel would resonate for somebody, or for a space with 5 people in it. So it could be all of the above.
Love it. And I do see you being flexible in that. You've obviously got set programs for people. And so where are these in person, please? Maybe you can speak on behalf of the workshop itself or the one-on-ones. Like, don't give a specific location, obviously,
Okay.
but or if you want to, that's fine. But yeah, or it's like, tell me online options. Yeah, love to know a little bit more so people can know.
Yes. So I'm in Surrey Hills, and I have been blessed with a place that has a separate studio out the back. So it's like not a small dance studio, but it's a little bit like that, where I have my piano, which is kind of cordoned off. But then there's a space where I can have, maybe up to 8 people in there, that I've now set up with ambient lighting and a fountain and Buddhas and candles and all of the above. Crystals. I'm very into crystals. So that's in Surrey Hills. And so the smaller groups I do here, and all my teaching, my online teaching I do here, where I'm sitting now, which is also, I have my piano right under me. So never far away from that. Yes, and I hadn't really mentioned that things can be done online as well. I think, can breathwork be done online? It can. A person can be sitting there and doing that. Preferable if you can do it in person. So my website is www.amandacolliver.com. So if you simply Google Amanda Colliver, you will see my website, and that's has all my vocal and singing and stuff like that. And I haven't quite updated it with breath to sound, but it does give my background, does give my bio and all my experience. And it also gives a page where you can inquire if you want to, an email address. So it's, and there's a phone number there as well. So for any inquiries, just come directly, or leave me a message.
And a link below to that as well, so people can just click on that contact and get in touch with you for whatever serves them.
Yeah. So it's exciting, and I'm very grateful to everyone who makes this possible, because it's teachers teach what they most want to learn, and being an educator, well, that's constructive use of bossiness, I think. But it's win-win, because I get to pass it on, but if you asked me what has empowered me the most in my life, it would be those that have trusted me with themselves, with their voices, with them, because we always start off espousing and going, well, I think I know this, but is it going to be constructive or whatever? And when people trust you and they literally take on what you say, and then you watch them change, you just completely heal and change. So my gratitude is actually to everyone who trusts me. It's true.
Well, I have gratitude all back at you. I've got to tell you that. I think what you do for people it definitely transcends beyond the voice. 100%. You wrote a quote, actually, that I want to share with everybody. And it says, "In the beginning, there was breath. In the breath, there was sound. In that sound is you." And I think that just really sums up your course and your work and the work you are doing. And I'm just so grateful to know you. I'm grateful to be able to work with you. I'm proud of you for serving the world and the singing community, but just people in general with your work, with your voice, with your knowledge, with your wisdom. And I think I'm certainly grateful to have you in my life. And I'm so excited that people are going to hear this and see this. And I'm excited for you. So thank you so much. I love your work as always. And I just want to clarify one thing. Surrey Hills is in Melbourne, Australia.
Yes, it's in Melbourne. It's near Box Hill. Yes.
Yes.
And also I want to say something. I want to say something to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Because for everyone listening, Rachael and I have just reconnected probably a week ago. And she so kindly said, because we were chatting, and she said, I really think that, an interview, like a YouTube or something or whatever, would be fantastic. And within 2 days, she has this list of questions and has organized it all. And I don't know if you know how rare people like that walk their talk are. And so I am so grateful to you, and just how you do what you say. And it means, more than a lot to me when people have my back for no reason at all other than they just love me. so I'm very grateful. Thank you.
I do love you. And it's because I believe in you too. And I believe in the greater good of the world. I believe that this needs to be heard. Like, I think it takes people like us to put this light out into the world. And I just hope that it captures enough of us so we can turn the world away from fear and into love.
So yes,
I think we should leave it right there. Oh my gosh. Well, yes. So this has been us. I am Rachael Ward, and this is Amanda Colliver. We will link to everything below. Please get in touch with Amanda. She's amazing. And I suppose if you have any questions, you could comment below, or even invite more questions and just talk about breath and voice and connection and intuition and communication, and light and love, because this is what we're here for, bringing people together as a beautiful community. So go work with this amazing woman, and we'll chat again. All right. Thank you. Bye. Lots of love.